Hello everyone and welcome back to Transport Fever 2. In this episode we're going to be working on the continuation of the lines that we started last episode. So without further ado we're going to crack straight on with those. So with the one coming through West Ham here, we're going to be going through the city underneath it and coming down to the Winsford area down here using this particular line from the one that we put in previously. So let's just double check. Is there like a decent point for us to add in maybe a tunnel here? I don't think there is. Let's check the... Okay, so it does go up a hill here, but it's fairly consistent all the way through. So what we could do is relocate the road here so that we can actually put this tunnel in. I don't think this road gets too much use, so it should be absolutely fine. Literally all we want to be doing is building a train line that goes into a tunnel here. So somewhere like that. We can then probably go into a bit of a bridge over here and connect that in at that point. So if we continue these through. So last time we did a fair amount of stuff to the lines in the area, and this episode will be much of the same. We're making some really big changes. So maybe with this one we'll come across here. I don't want it to be in a tunnel. That's not what I was going for. Let's go over slightly. And then if we go one larger, it's causing issues. So we want this to be one of these roads, but if we do need to change it, we can. So this will be coming underneath here, and it will be connecting in at that point there to then go through. And then over here, if we take this particular road back, we should be able to do a much better curve coming up here. And I don't want to basically dig into this so much here. I want it to look fairly even all the way through, so we'll go to that level, and then that will be going in there. That's actually a fairly large difference, so if we delete this back, obviously this is nothing to do with the train line, but it's important that we have decent links going through, and I don't want to just remove what we have had in the past and not replace it. So let's just put these in, use the smooth tool to then make things look a little bit nicer, especially in these very sort of dug through areas. Just smooth it up a little bit. And then we can do the same down here. I'm not going to spend all day doing this. I'm literally just smoothing it out a little bit. So it's a little bit nicer there. And then that will be the connection through here sorted. So if we were to take this, and we're going to be going into this line up here. This doesn't interact with that one, does it? No, it does seem to be very steep, which is to be expected considering West Ham is so much higher up than Winsford is. Winsford's right on the waterfront, especially this train station that we're going into down here, so it's to be expected that it's going to be a fair bit different. If we look at the height difference, this particular one, so it says up here where we are at the cursor, this is 114 meters above sea level, whereas this one is 10. So there's a difference of about 104 meters there to connect in. But we've now connected in West Ham to Winsford. So the next step is probably going to be the hardest part. So first off, let's just clean this back. We don't want roads on this side of the main road through just for now. Now we're going to have 2 train lines here. So as you can see, we've got 4 sets of tracks. So the inner tracks, and that's the tracks on the left hand side closest to the city, are going to be coming this direction towards Southwold and Hailsham, whereas the outer lines are going to be going up this direction, most probably connecting into Mablethorpe and Sutton when we get there. But right now they're not set up, so we need to really consider how we're going to do this. I think what we're going to have to do is delete these lines back a little bit, so that then allows us to come over this inner line and go up the hill here. Because remember, this is all a very steep gradient, and also Mablethorpe and Sutton. I don't know where we'll be putting the train station, but the middle of it is about 204 meters above sea level, so it's a much higher level than Winsford, which is at about 10. So we need to be very considerate about how we're going to get the train line up there, and putting it into a sort of elevated level earlier on should help with that. So we're just going to need to be considerate about that going forward. But right now we're thinking about where we're going to be coming through over here, whether it be connecting into Southwold or whether it be connecting into Hailsham. Now, personally, I think that we should probably connect into Southwold and then do a line through to the Tring station, and that will continue through to St Just-in-Penwith. St Just-in-Penwith. I don't know how I got that completely wrong. Anyway, and then continue through to Alford, Bawtry, and then that's going to connect into our main line down here. So this is potentially the hardest part of this particular trip, because we don't necessarily know where it's going to be going. So if we check our usage of the land, Southwold is a bit tricky because the residential zones are actually splattered all over the show. They're absolutely well and truly mishmashed into the industrial and commercial areas. Hailsham's a little bit easier. It'll be on this side that we'll be putting the train station, but at the same time it's going to be tricky because we've got so much going on around this area. So we've got our main lines through, so that would be the circular lines. These run through a tunnel down to this main Hailsham connection. We've also got our train stations here, and we also have the Tring line, which sort of circles around this area. So with all of that in mind, I think it might be best if we potentially built into one of the train stations that we already have. So possibly even this one here. If we were to build, say, a section that is for public transport, then we can effectively have a passenger building on the other side, and I believe it should work. Don't quote me on it. I think it should work. That it then allows us to just have the passengers go through that way. It's going to be a little bit tricky down here. It looks like we might have enough space to just go through at this point and then yeah, I don't know what we're going to do down the ways. Maybe we need to go into a tunnel at this point somewhere. That would really help, actually, with these other lines that we've got here. So if we were to go into a tunnel, this would be the best spot to do it. Not necessarily in real life, though, because you're right next to the water there. If there's ever a flood, then that tunnel's going to get absolutely washed out. But that's a fair amount of distance, and it goes into a tunnel pretty nicely. So we may well do that. This is quite a nice spot for it to go into a tunnel. I quite like that it's going into a tunnel at this point. I don't necessarily like that we have to use a tunnel, but there is so much going on in this area, and we're going to be adding to that with the line that I mentioned earlier going up to Mablethorpe. It's pretty much the only real way that we can go. So with that in mind, I mean, we could do a separate station here and then use this road in. Again, the positioning of the residential zone being right next to the river is very tricky. In fact, I'm not too sure why it hasn't built into this area. Maybe we just need to put the road in, and then it'll be like, oh, there's a road there, I'll use that. Let's give that a try. There we go. Let's see what happens now. It's almost like this road was gonna start to become a thing, and then it just didn't as well. So Southwold and Hailsham are probably going to grow a massive amount when we put this line in. And what we are long-term thinking is for a line from Kesgrave to come through at that same point, and then that switch out to go to Hailsham, and maybe even then come back down to Tring, or go up to an airport. We're a little bit undecided at this point in time. So to have one station here, what's the situation with the hill? It's pretty hilly here. We could, of course, build one in that then they both use, and that might be a bit better than actually building it into this one. And actually I'm leaning towards that for this. So if we go with high speed, 4 tracks, actually this is a really nice spot to put it in because it's not digging into the hill too much at all. You've got a nice amount of stuff around. Yeah, I think that's the perfect spot for the Southwold connection. So we'll have one connection that goes through Winsford, and this one will be the massive circular line that we hinted at before. So this line will be going through Winsford, West Ham, and then that goes on to the Ilkeston line, which then comes through to Ilkley, Swindon, and then, as we mentioned, goes through Bawtry, Alford, and Just-in-Penwith down to Tring again. So hopefully we can get that all in this particular episode. If we can't, then that's absolutely fine. So what we first want to do is, considering this will be the inner line here, is build in possibly like a tunnel down. So I'm keeping it straight based off of the snaps that it's, so you can see there it's like snapping to where it's straight. So that should in theory be straight ahead of it from the train station. And then I'm going to push it up as far as possible so that there is as little of an elevation gain as possible. So what that means is that the hill here, or the slope, will not be too extreme. So I know we literally just built this in, but we had to build it into this point to get the tunnel working there. Now if we take it back, we can actually plug it into there, and that should create a really nice sweeping curve. You can see that the speed only really goes down to about 175 here. Over here, we're going down to, well, actually it's 186 throughout here. So that's the perfect tunnel, quite frankly. It's really fast. It's sweeping. It's as short as we can make it, really, with the various train tracks and other things that are going through here. We don't necessarily want to be affecting too much. Now, what I might do in this particular episode is get all the track in so that we can set up the line and then go from there. So bearing in mind, this will now be going down to Tring here. If we just take a quick look at Tring, I think we should be able to get away with using this outer line with not too much hassle. So this is the Riverside rail line, which goes down to Loughton here, Lower Loughton, up through here, and then up to Tring. That's the only connection Tring currently has to the outside world for public transport. So putting in this other connection will be really good, because it won't only connect Tring to these other cities. Bearing in mind they already have quite a good connection to Winsford, because they can come down here, swap over at Upper Shildon onto the Crossburgh Express, and then come down to Winsford quite easily. But if we were to put in a connection from here, I mean, maybe we do the connection through, so we merge the Crossburgh Express. No, I don't think so. Or we could even do the other line that comes up. So we've got one line that goes through Ilkeston here, through up to Knaresborough, and then that one will be going through to Kesgrave and Southwold. We could possibly do that, because technically this would be very much on following the river up, and then it kind of swings over to this side where the river is. But anyway, that's a ways off yet. Let's focus on this particular station. So we're going to need another platform. Hopefully we can build this in without too much issue, although it looks like that road's a bit too close. That's fine, we can alter that. I'm not too worried about this stuff because it's mostly cosmetic at this stage. So we want the sort of subway, the underpass, sorry, for passengers, and then we'll build in the roof to keep people dry, and then this will be going down to the connection down here and going straight through. So from this side, bearing in mind we've got to go underneath a river as well, we want to be going down a fair amount. In fact, if we can go... Let's just keep it like that for now, going relatively straight through. So it's got to link up over here, which makes it a little bit tricky. I think what we'll end up doing is probably going into a tunnel from this side. I know I'm using a lot of tunnels through this area, but it's not easy when you've got very little space to work with. And so many train lines already in the area. So effectively this would need to connect into here. Ah, there we go. It's actually having a bit of an issue there. So if we go underneath here, this seems to be a bit of an issue. Maybe we need to go lower sooner. So let's try that. How high up can we go without it doing that? So we don't want it to come into... While we can technically place this, I don't want it to go out of a tunnel into the river. So I'm going to go down like so. And the same back here. It's a shame you can't specify where you want the entrance of the tunnel to be, because if I could, I would have it up here rather than down here. But anyway. Right, so that's coming across this way. If anything, it could turn even more. But this is going to need to go underneath this other river, or the same river on the other side. Whichever river it is, I don't know, because I don't think it's named anything. So that's where it's going to be coming through to. We don't want that going underneath, we want it to stay relatively flat. In fact, if we can connect those in, it should create the best curve possible. I mean, it's down to 63 miles an hour, but considering it's got to practically do a hairpin turn for a tunnel, for a train even, that's not too bad. Right, okay, so this section of track is now in. We're connected down to Tring, and then we need to continue out, and we're most likely going to want to stay flat. Now, where do we want to come through to? About here. Bearing in mind we've got other train lines, other tunnels, which are probably going to get in the way. If we can avoid possibly going into a tunnel on this side, that would be beneficial. But we won't need to worry about that too much for now. I just want to navigate this particular roadway. Do so without affecting too much. Now, we do need to put this other road back in. So if we take this part out, what we can do, and this should be fairly smart, is go up at this point, just put a little bit of a, there we go, hump in the middle. No, it's not quite liking it, is it? Let's go a little bit higher up. There we go. So then, if we take our curved road, we can connect in there, and that is not looking too great, so I want to lower it down there. It's not quite lining up, which is a bit of a pain. Let's just lower it so that it's flat on the ground there. This creates a really nice ramp up at that point, and then we can do connection through there. We could even do a connection off this way into that one. Then upgrade these particular roads through. Maybe even do something a little bit smart here and do a road underneath. It's a little bit too smart, it turns out. Can we go through here? Yes. Can we do it staying flat? Not quite. So if we then do a curve at that point, this allows us to connect in there. We then have a way through from this side to that side. Let's just tidy up the geometry around here, because I don't want it to necessarily look too dodgy. And then this effectively creates a bit of a shortcut through down to this point to go onwards to Hailsham and Southwold down here for stuff coming through from, say, Just-in-Penwith, from everything else. Alford, Burgh, and all the other big cities down here, because they'd probably be using this road through. So at this point we need to connect into that one. So I'm going to make sure that we come out at the right angle, considering we have one there. And then we're going to use dirt for that one. So we limit the amount of bridge that we use there. And that should look fairly decent, I think. And I think we did have a road coming through here before, but the fact that we've got an underpass going through means I'm not that bothered about it now. In fact, what we might do is just do a road there, connect that in at that point. Put a couple of steps, not that it's going to be ever used, I don't think, because we've got that connection on the other side. It just looks fairly decent then. So then people can come through and go down to this side of Tring if they want to. I doubt they really will. They'll probably use this main road through, but the point is that the connections there, should it be needed down the road. So it's nice that it's all there. It's limiting how many connections to this main road there are, and hopefully it will mean that stuff doesn't have to go across to go from this side to this side, for example. But nothing's ever really going to do that. It's just a case of it looks better, in my humble opinion, to do that. So over on this side, we need to be coming across here. I want to come through relatively flat so that we can avoid... I really want to... I thought flat would be a bit higher than this. Okay. We're going to have to explore our options. I don't really want there to be a crossing on that main road through, but equally, I don't want this connection to not be in there. So, if we come through at this level, keep it flat, just work it up slowly. So we want a bit of a bridge here, where it goes into a dip. At some point it's going to do that. Perfect, there. So then that can go around that way and avoid That collides with something. What does it collide with? This. Oh, okay, we can put this in afterwards. This is the least of our worries right now. Let's push that up till there's a bridge. In fact, I might mirror the bridge that we've got here, so use this more cargo-y one. We're not going to have anything go above 112 miles an hour. Unfortunately, trains just don't go that fast on this particular late stage of the game. So we would want this road to connect in there. And then look at how many different lines we've got going through here. It's so complex. It's pretty cool in my opinion. So what we could do is where this comes out at a much higher level than the rest of the tunnel, we could come in on this side and connect in rather than have it go through here. So if we were to try that, it would be coming out at this point. In fact, I don't really want that massive jump up there. Oh, I don't really want a massive tunnel either. Mind you, that is literally just how the connection looks, isn't it? It's gonna have to be something like that. So that should then allow for us to ignore this connection here because we've replaced it. Let's smooth things out a little bit, make things look a little bit nicer around here. I think there's a limit to how much we can do with this because there is so many things going on here. But this train line now needs to go through, and we want it to stay relatively flat. Down to here. So what happens if we literally just connect that together? So it's trying to come out here, which we don't want. And it's still colliding with this. In fact, it collides here as well. So this section of the map is going to be a bit tricky. Interesting. Okay, so if we come out just go through bridge pillar collision. Put that up as close as possible to there. So we're probably going to be turning straight after this particular this particular mine. So what happens if we try? Oh, damn it. Right, okay, hang on, let's just raise this area a little bit. I will come back and sort that out, don't worry. Right, okay. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, so it turns into a bit of a curve. This should just be dirt. This is really interesting. So we've got a little bit of a crossing there, but I mean nothing nothing really should be driving that route, so it's absolutely fine for us to have it as a crossing. In fact, what we could do is weave it in after it's in, but it's really interesting that it goes to a bridge at that point. So this will be the most gentle of inclines here that it can possibly do. That's the same bridge there. Okay, let's give it a try. So we're going to try this one coming out to here. The tunnel is a double tunnel, and then we're going into another tunnel up here. We're going to try and weave the road around that, but it's not the end of the world if it has to be a whatchamajig, and then that will just connect in there. Wow, okay, so now we have Tring and St Just-in-Penwith connected. This is quite a momentous occasion, quite frankly. It's we've never had these two connected up before with one particular line. Alford's going to be a tricky one. Alford's going to be a really tricky one. Now I say that because the Alford station already does do level crossings here, which I'm not a massive fan of, but it is what it is. And then also there's not that much space there to put in another train station, train line. Alford's a really tricky one. We're probably going to have to move this, and I would say that we should move it maybe over here or something. Somewhere where there's a little bit more space, somewhere where we can actually remove the crossings or reduce them as much as possible. Somewhere where it's fairly close to this, so we can just move it across fairly easily. Somewhere that has good links in and out of the city. And that would also work with this bridge here. Yeah, I think over here is probably going to be the best bet. We could potentially even just go into a tunnel at that point and avoid all of this together. This is tricky. It's opened up a new oil refinery here, which, quite frankly, is quite useful to have, but we're already pretty much at capacity there. We would be able to build in another, yeah, we could do a station there for it. So we could connect that in, which would be quite good, because we'd get a fair bit of crude oil down here, and we have other things in the area getting a lot of use. So yeah, that would be for another day, I think. So Alford's going to be the trickiest part of this particular connection, I personally think. So if we take a look at Bawtry up here, Bawtry's also going to be fairly tricky, but for different reasons. Now, I think with Bawtry, we should effectively wipe out these buildings at the front and push it forward. So put another line in here. But we have other roads and other things which are in the way here. So if we just remove these back, that should allow us to then work with what we've got here. So put in 2 train lines with catenaries. I'll come back to Alford, quite frankly. It's a bit of a nightmare to try and attack. So we want our crossing, we want our things on top. And then Bawtry is quite a big city, so I'm going to put in a decent sized foyer, and that will then reduce. Looks like we're not going to be able to put these in where we want them, but that's absolutely fine. We'll go with 2 either side, and then we can do a similar thing on the other side, just to keep it even. So now we need to put this road back in, and what we need is the electric tram. I'm hoping we'll be able to draw this without too much hassle. I don't want it to affect that tunnel. No, if you could avoid the tunnel, that would be great. Just ignore that tunnel. Ignore the tunnel, game. Just doesn't want to ignore the tunnel. Oh, that'll be fine. We can just go around like that. So that then connects in here. We've got that extra space now. We should also be able to come out and go underneath all this other stuff. Let's just double check. We can avoid... Oh, maybe not. What if we extend this bridge? Bridge pillar collision. Ah, this road here is going to be a bit of an issue. And actually, it's fairly busy for our cargo into Bawtry. I mean, to be fair, it's going up. So we could keep it flat through this section. So if we just raise it up a little bit, then that might provide us with enough of a gap to avoid that particular issue. I mean, to be fair, if we can, creating one large bridge would be a little bit nicer than doing what we already have. Let's try taking that section out, because we might be able to put it back in afterwards. Right, so then if we just trim this bit, put it into there, so then we have a uniform bridge going across. Might even do a similar thing over here, but we'll cross that when we come to it. Can we get this in without too much of an issue? I'll tell you what we might need to do is sort of go round. So we can do that here. And then we can actually observe the effect of the hill here. And that works fairly well. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. It's not necessarily the best, but it's kind of hidden because it's underneath this bridge. So it's not too much of an issue. So this side will be going down to Alford, where we'll then be connecting into Just-in-Penwith, but for now let's just move on to our next section. So we want to effectively go down this way, and then from here avoid all this lot if we can, and connect in to this, Right, this is going to be a bit of an issue. So let's just put this tunnel in straight away, if we can. Okay, sweet. So it does go into a tunnel. It's saying that it can't actually go underneath this factory, which might be a bit of an issue. We would have to be underneath at this section. Coming out here. No, that's not quite what I had in mind. Can we go into a tunnel on this side? No. Ah, it's following the road. That's not what I want. Right. Effectively, that's kind of what I had in mind, but obviously not going this far this direction. Let's raise this up so that we can try and keep it as flat as possible. And then we'll be deleting out this section. And then we'll be following that train line around, so... That's close, isn't it? It's very close. Let's try from the other direction. So over here, we want this line. And we're going to be connecting that one in here. Right, that's where we want it. How does that look? It's blue, so it's good. And it goes well underneath all this other stuff. Oh, interesting. It comes out here. Maybe we can lower this just to avoid this particular road. No. Oh, no, we can't. Okay. I think if we're going to do anything, we're going to remove... Oh. If we're going to do anything, we're going to remove this road and then sort of align it to where we want it to go. So we have a pretty straight road coming down here, so we can go around that point. Right. The important thing is that it's going in without too much of a hassle. I say without too much. This has been a fair hassle. It'll just have to come out at that point. There's nothing we can avoid it doing, although it looks like it might be interacting here, and that's not what we want. Not what we want at all. Right, that... Yeah, look, that seems to be above it, maybe? Below it? One or the other. It's not interacting with this stuff, which is good. Okay, we'll go with that. So if we follow that down, we'll snap to here to make sure that we get the double tunnel. And now I'm going to take it to the other side of Dover. And then we'll come through here so that we've got the double tunnels on both of these without an issue. And then come down to there. And we'll hit play just so that things continue through. And then we pretty much have this line all set up. From there, it continues on to Ilkesford, onto West Ham, and onto Winsford, where we started. So, Alford. Alford is our next thing to combat. And Alford is a bit tricky. It's a very large city at 1,200 people. It's growing. The amount of supplies it's getting is going up. If we drew a straight line, it would come out to about here. If anything, I would want to repurpose. If we had to split them out, I have two different lines. I'd want to repurpose this train station to be what this line will be used for. But I kind of do want them to be on the same actual connection. It's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one. We've got a very built-up area. But I think the only real solution... Then again, we've got a train station here. We've got factories and these oil wells. Since when was this one here? Is this new? I think... Oh, no, we did put this here for that. I remember now. Alford is tricky. We could probably put a separate connection out here and completely change around the way that the lines go in. Have this one come down here. We could then probably go underneath here, avoid any emissions from the train line reaching the population of Alford. It's tricky with that oil well right there. This would be a really good spot for one. Just here. Alright, so if we can... Let's get this into a tunnel. That can then fly through, avoiding all these other things up to here. And then this other line, I don't know what we're going to do with it. Because we've kind of backed ourselves into a bit of a corner with having this need to replace that. We can effectively remove this train line though, which will be nice. So is there any trains there? Yes, there is. So that one's working its way through. Ah, there's another train coming down. Let's avoid causing any issues with that. Let's just take these out. Bite the bullet. Do it. So we're going to push this up a little bit further. Hopefully there's a point where they are at the same level. So that can connect in up here. It does slow down, but that's absolutely fine because the additional benefits we're going to reap from this will really help. So let's just bring that out to the same point there. And then we'll connect that one in like so. This one in here. If we have to do something with these roads, it's not the end of the world. I don't think it's the main link through for Alford and Burgh-le-Marsh. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be something that's going to cause issues here. So let's just... Construction not possible. That's an interesting one. Let's see if we just connect this up to over here. Where does it go? So it's one massive bridge. Wow, okay. That might just be because of the pillars. Same here. This is a huge bridge. Interesting. If we raise it up in the middle, there is a point. Oh my goodness, it's ridiculous. Where it's fine. With inverted commas, fine. Yeah, this is a bit much in my eyes. But the good news is that we can avoid all of that. So what I have in mind is if we do a roadway or a railway coming down this way. Ah, we do actually need to upgrade that bridge because otherwise it's going to be far too slow. I did not realise that was going to be bridge. There we go. And then we can do the same here. Where's that line? There. And then what I would say is if we come down here, so that we're just peeking out of this particular point, then it turns into more of a viaduct between two mountains rather than whatever it was before. And it just looks a little bit better, in my humble opinion. At which point we would then need to effectively seal the deal, connect in there. This, see, it's this bit that's the problem. We can avoid this bit quite easily by just going not even slightly off of straight out. Bring it up, put it into a tunnel, into a bridge even, and then from there connecting in rather than what we were doing before. And all of a sudden, this will connect without problems. And I can kind of see this being a thing. It's very extreme of a connection, but it's also a connection that goes all the way around the region. And considering these are two of the largest cities in the map so far, I can absolutely believe that there would be a connection in here that would be a little bit ridiculous. So if we take those connections out, these should then work without issue, he says. Alford Annex. This is clockwise, so that is going here. Why can that not go through? Oh, because it's meant to go to number 2, of course. There we go, and this one's meant to go to number 1. I got muddled up. There we go, that's in. So that side is fine. On this side, we would want to go into another bridge. Not too much of a bridge, like... If we can effectively do what we've already got here, can we copy this? Oh, I didn't know that we could. This might be a bit of an issue though, but it might just be a simple case of moving the road. This is new. I didn't know that we could effectively copy the bridge. It's a shame it doesn't merge into one bridge. So have like a connected rail and road bridge. And then I want dirt going down to there. Dirt going up to here. We're just going to have to take this out a little bit more. So from that point, we're just going to alter the road slightly. I don't know what we're going to need to do on this side. So if I don't want to connect there, I want to effectively do a line next to this road. I don't think I can do that. I think I might be able to do it the other way around. Right, so coming down to here, we're turning. Might even be able to do a bit better of a turn if we bring this through a little bit more at an angle. Which, let's face it, it's the most malleable of the networks we can actually work with, so I have no problem with doing that after the fact. We might even be able to start the curve a little bit further back. Take it to somewhere like that. So if we then connect this next to it, so that's 160, right? 163? 186, 160. Yeah, that's a really good speed. This bit's going to be a little bit troublesome, but it is above here already. I want that to effectively stay flat. And then what does it do here? Oh! Comes out there, but actually, that works really well. Don't know what we're going to do road-wise. 186 through there. Let's try this from a little bit further back. I'm actually surprised this is going in so easily. I touch wood, of course. There we go, look at that, 186 all the way through. Let's try just lowering it so it avoids this non-tunnel bit. That hardly does anything to the rest of the track, it just extends this out a little bit more. Wow. Wow, 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 and like like that. I knew I was speaking too soon. Okay. Let's take that back to there. Now this was the troublesome one. Oh. It actually goes in without an issue. Okay. Oh, there we go. Nice and simple. Take it out and put it back in again. Bob's your uncle. Sorted. Nice. So we have the high-speed rail going that way, and then we've got the main route going through here, which goes up to Bawtry, which goes down to Ilkley and Swindon, and then continues on to Ilkeston. So that's quite a big line that we just put in. One thing I really need to do is make sure that we put everything back with Alford the way that we want it. So with that in mind, I'm just going to remove what we currently have going through Alford. And we're going to effectively replace it with the other side, especially while it's fresh in our minds. And this should actually really help Alford grow, because we've effectively removed a massive thing that was causing issues, effectively. This might be a bit of an issue. Maybe we can go from here. In fact, can I? I can't snap to the rail line, which is a little bit annoying, but I can just go straight through like that. And if we need to, we can expand it, can't we? Yeah. Cool. Let's do that. Connect that in there. Connect this to over here. And connect this one down here. So then Alfred can go out that way. These are connected back up. Let's just put the stops in here for the high-speed line. It's a bit of a slow corner here, which is a bit of a shame considering it's on our quote-unquote high-speed line. But you know, what can you do? Sometimes things change, and that's just the way it is. So if we continue these through, We can actually start the stops on the other side as well. Like so. There we go. And then that is effectively that line through. So let's just put some stops in all the way through. This might take a while. And then we'll put some more stops when it comes up to a station, just so that there's more of a queue and a stopping distance there. Again, another station, so let's put in some more stops leading up to it and after it, so that trains can come up to and wait to go into that particular station. In fact, let's do the same there. Add some stops in. So we're trying this here. We're going to have to put in a few stops so that the trains can come up to and wait. That looks good. And then on the other side, I mean, we are probably going to have to change this out once we put the other line in, so that it's more similar with everything else. This is where the line goes up to West Ham. This is going to be a massive connection for the cities involved in it and the other lines that go along this way, because it means that cities are more interconnected than ever before. So we've got a few stops coming up to there, and we've already done the ones going down this way. We've already done the ones going around this way. We have not done the ones here, though. Now, bearing in mind the speeds here are quite slow, I'm going to put in a few more stops along this route to ensure that trains coming in don't necessarily cause issues when they're having to slow down for the actual section through there. Hopefully these aren't interconnected, are they? So there isn't just a crossing there. Oh, it's going to be really hard to tell until we've got trains running through it, which is a bit annoying. I don't think there is. And then this line goes up to Bawtry. So we need to avoid all of these. All of Dover. And then we're on the other side. We're coming into a section where there's probably going to be a little bit of a slowdown due to the corner there. Let's just put this in correctly. I can't quite get the right level of zoom. I want to remove that one. There we go. And then do the same here. And let's put in another layer of stops. There we go. Right, so what's the speed limit here? 115. That's very reasonable. Hardly even slowed down, quite frankly. So, considering the trains probably get to about 115 at their maximum speed. So let's just pull these through. They go over this bit of the hill, and it looks alright in my opinion, because we'll have to have another look at it, but with everything turned off, all the overlays turned off, just look at it subjectively. I think it'll look okay. Right, so here, if we just go into, no, that's not the menu. How do you turn off the UI? I don't think you can actually. We can turn these off. So yeah, it looks more like sort of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Aqueduct between two areas, rather than it just going straight through the map here. It looks like it's actually using the hills that we've got here to actually connect in. So I quite like that look, and it should be really interesting here where it's right on a cliff face as well. So yeah, that looks quite nice in my opinion. obviously we've got to actually connect everything in. So down here, we're going to want a nice large building for Alford, maybe even a few of them. And then let's just do the same on the other side, because Alford's probably going to get quite busy, especially where we have now an interlinking connection. So we're going to be putting the trams there. This road can continue exactly as it was, effectively. It doesn't need to change at all, which is quite nice. Let's just take these bits out again. Put this in here, put this in there. And then on this side, right, so, ooh. It's actually the height of the... let's just do something like that. Now, we've got a fair few connections here that we're going to have to relocate. Now, that's absolutely fine. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. It's just a case of we need to have a tram line down here. And how many stops are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 on each side. So if we go into here, do 33 electric, maybe we can just effectively go straight into there with it and go underneath this bridge. Right. So this side will connect in here. We'll need trams here, working their way through back into the city. And then we'll need to add 2 on either side of this. I don't know whether we could potentially connect these in. I think it's a bit too close. Let's try it. Yeah, too close. Okay. Let's try going to there and then connecting in. I don't want it to... There we go. Perfect, though. Let's even make this actually a bus lane line, if we can connect it in there. So if we made this bus lane all the way through, then effectively we have our connection here. We're going to need to put in passenger buildings on either side, like so. And if we can, it's probably a good idea to put in some passenger buildings on the capacity front as well. That causes collision, but that's looking pretty swish, I think. So all we need to do is move these lines from here to over here. So this one's number 4. So if we remove number 4 and maybe even, where is this? That. Then all of a sudden it's connected in Which way does it go? So it goes... What is this one? This one's the circular. I wonder whether there's a better route through for it. I mean, truth be told, the city's grown a hell of a lot since we needed it to just do that. But I think the idea was to connect to the various northeastern, you know, from north to east and what have you. So connect those lines in. So we'll just keep it as it is. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So this one's number 5 and number 6 is there. So if I take out that one and that one. Number 1 here. Okay. And number 7 there. Take that one out. This is number 1. So I'm literally just going to go through these one by one and remove the connection to this terminal. Replace it with this one over here. Once autosave allows us, that is. There we go, that's most of them. So, number 1 and 2. Alright, let's put these all over. It looks like they're not spreading out over here. We'll have to alter what actual track they use, or actual terminal, I should say, they use, and then all of these are through. Nice, okay. So if we just spread them out, this one on number 1, this one on number 2, number 3, number 4, number 10, number 9, number 8, number 7, number 6. So then each one has its own terminal. How does that look from this standpoint? It's very busy. Hopefully it's relatively working well, but it's hard to tell from here. Let's take this one out, and let's take these sections of roads out. And then if we leave that for a little while, it's going to work its way around. But now we can go through and just smooth this area so much more. This area. Boom. There we go. That's all sorted. Wow, we actually have lines that go all the way around the map. That is pretty crazy. It looks like we did have a connection here, but we've taken that out. That should be fine. They should be able to find other routes around. If there's one last thing that we need to do, it is to put in some connections which will work. Like so. Can we make these double slip switches? Not that one. Almost, but not quite. So we'll just do that. And then this side will just be connected in there. Double slip switch. There we go. So we've got our stations here. So if we're going to put in this line, where do we want it to begin from? Probably Alford, to be fair. We've done a lot of changes in Alford for this line, so it only makes sense that Alford gets to benefit from it. The first one will go up to Bawtry, and then we'll go down to Ilkeston and through. It looks like it's already worked its way round, which is always good. It means that the connection's working. We want a connection in here, and then a connection for Tring, and a connection for St Just-in-Penwith. And then that would be our public transport line. Rail. Not pale, rail. Rail. Let's call it, let's keep the high speed one. So high speed interlink, intercity actually. Intercity, and this is going clockwise. But this is the second of the train lines. So that first one was the lines that go around the main larger cities. This is the second one. Right, so if we put in this other line, we can connect it through to everything. It's gonna cause some issues there, that's absolutely fine. It should start to work its way around once we put the first few stops in. Connection there, and then connection in Bawtry. So ultimately, the line isn't too different from the other one here, but it offers a much faster connection to Bawtry. So this should be a real benefit for those two cities as well. So if we put counterclockwise, connection in, and these are green. I quite like that. We'll keep it green. Green and not so green. So we need to put a couple of trains on there. This one will be going onto the lighter green. And this one will be going onto the darker green. Like so. and then we can watch these as they go round for the first time. Right, cool. So we'll need to keep an eye on these, and when they cross over each other, that's when we want to put another train on the line. But for now, let's just watch these as they go around the tracks. So we're coming up to Alford. We're getting up to a fair amount of speed. 70 miles an hour already. There's Alford. It's going over the bridge. And look at the size of Alford's station now. You know what we could do here? We can actually put in these, which looks so much nicer. And considering the size of this, let's just put in links underneath everywhere, because why not? This is a huge station now. In fact, if anything, it's a bit overkill, but hey ho, it does the trick. And now we're approaching. In fact, let's try. It's going to be a bit tricky. Like over the shoulder. Oh, I think I had it there. Over the shoulder shot. And this will look pretty good when we get to the aqueduct part. So this is the first part of it. And we're getting up to 70 miles an hour going up this hill, which is fairly decent, I would say. Let's just grab, oh, look at this. What a decent screenshot that is. Ooh, just ignore this part. Hopefully we should start to see... Oh, why didn't it stop there? Oh. It's going to Alford Annex, but it's just stopped at Alford Annex. What's up with that? Alford Annex, Bawtry, Ilkley, Ilkeston. I might have pressed a button which did something I'm unfamiliar with. I was trying to press the button to take a screenshot, so I might have done something there which I didn't necessarily intend to do. Where's this one? Oh, awesome. This one's coming up to Winsford for the first time. So how's Winsford doing? We've already got a fair few people on this side of the track, but it's just working its way through. Winsford is huge. Look at how much it's sprawled. It really is doing really well. Here we go. Tell you what we might have to do is put a road here that we put in ourselves, especially once this other bit's put in. Oh, this one's going around to Upper Tring. Why is it going there? I feel like I've done something to these lines. Are these doing similar things? No, this one's going to Upper Tring. I don't really know what I've done. How's things over here? Bearing in mind that these have only just started up, I think these are doing quite well. This is the first line that will take things around for Ilkeston. So hopefully we should start to see a fair amount of use. This is very busy already. That's really good to see. Let's give Ilkeston a couple more trams. So hopefully that will pull things around. I thought this one would be the busiest, but apparently this one's very busy. Well, that's good. It looks like that's towards the end of the line for this particular route round. So, as in, this is the 8th stop out of 10. So it's probably the tram's full up at this point with people that want to go to number 1, and they just can't quite get there. But we should start to see the train come around in a second. Where is this one? Oh, that one's there. This one. Yeah, look at this. They're going to meet. Probably going somewhere in Ilkeston. Maybe even in the underpass area. So this actually tells me something quite interesting, which is this area is sort of the point where they would cross over. And actually, considering we've got an area of train line where they effectively share the other line, it might be beneficial to put a couple of depots down here. Something like this. So that way, if we ever need to put in another train, in fact, let's keep an eye on this one. Yeah, it looks like they just crossed over. So let's put another train on these lines. And then let's do the same over here. And we can put in a non-one-way there, a non-one-way there. And then that means if we need to put any more trains on this line, or the line that we put in going from Loughton through to Knaresborough and onwards, it'll be all connected in, so we don't need to worry about it. So this should hopefully provide huge amounts of growth for these cities. I see that Ilkeston's already growing. These are just trying to work their way through. I don't know why they are doing that, but it's something they're doing. So hopefully we'll start to get the second trains through. That's working their way through. So this should really start to encourage growth in these cities along this way. I'm really hopeful to see how well these do from these particular lines, these particular cities. So we're going to leave this one here. We've done a massive amount, including, wow, look at that. I don't know whether it might just be because of trains left, although there's, which line is this one on? The red one. Yeah, the blue one looks like maybe a train's just come through. Yeah, there's the train on the way. It's got 33 people on it. It looks like it's far busier than the other main line going round here. So that's pretty impressive, considering this goes around some of the biggest cities in the game. The other intercity lines that we've just put in are more popular than it, so that's pretty impressive. Hey everyone, Future Rob here. So this is our showcase of the Bawtry to Alford line. You can see here in the lower right the cargo station for Bawtry, and then as we swing through you can see the extended bridge that we've created going through down to Ilkley and Swindon. Here's the Bawtry train station, and as you'll see in just a second, we have created a whole new platform for this new line. So this will basically increase the capacity and also throughput of the train station. So we've got a number of aqueducts going through this area down to Alford. So this is the first small one going through to a tunnel that goes through the mountain. And we've actually got a really nice view of Alford here, as you'll see. And then we'll follow this down to the next aqueduct, which is going between two mountains. It's quite a large aqueduct. It's quite extreme, but I think it complements the geography quite well, going between these mountains and following sort of the spine of the mountain down. So as we sweep round, you'll see Bawtry on the hill here. Now remember that Bawtry is a lot higher up than Alford, so we've had quite a steep decline between the two stations here, so it's been quite a difficulty to get this line in, but I think we've pulled it off. So we've got this next aqueduct which goes between a mountain and a hill. As you can see, we've got Alford there, and on the right we've got the new relocated train station for Alford. Like I say, there's the relocated train and tram stations. It's looking mighty fine from this viewpoint here. So we're going down to the final aqueduct. So I think there's 3 or 4 in total. And as you can see on the left here, we've got quite a nice curve coming around from the two cities. So let's have a closer look at those two new stations. So here we have the relocated tram station. It's pretty much exactly what we had before, but now we have more capacity for people to wait. And then we've got a larger, more capacity train station for Alford here, with some nice roofs as well. And then the line continues through. So we've got two lines here, the old high-speed rail and the new one. The bridge there snapped to the old road bridge, and then we've got a tunnel through to St Just-in-Penwith. We'll just have to keep an eye on how busy they get. As they're circular lines, it's going to be a bit tricky to keep them sort of spread out like we have with the other lines, because we don't want... Wow, look at how busy that one is. We don't want trains to come back to back. We want them to be spread out so that they're as evenly through the lines as possible. But this is huge. Like, the amount of connections this is going to provide is really impressive. Look at that. No one wants to go to Alford or Burghley Marsh and what have you. They all want to go to Upper Tring, Winsford, West Ham. This is really bizarre. That's not what I would have expected. I would have expected this one to be very busy. But it's quite welcomed, quite frankly. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think with your thumbs. If your thumbs don't cut it and you want to let me know something in a comment, then please do. I welcome it, and I try to reply to every comment that we get. But other than that, have a great rest of your day. If you have enjoyed this particular series so far, then consider subscribing. It's the best way to catch my content as it comes out. But anyway, have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.